You know that old saying, know thyself? It's probably one of the oldest quests in human history. But a lot of spiritual paths, well, they can get really tangled up. They become these confusing mental gymnastics that just end up feeding the very mind we're trying to understand. So, what if the search itself is the real trap?
Right? Let's just get straight to the heart of it. Is finding yourself about collecting more knowledge, piling up more concepts, more spiritual-sounding labels, or is there a more direct way, a path that just cuts right through all that noise?
So here's how we're going to break down the direct path of the sage Ramana Maharshi. First, we'll look at the intellectual trap everyone falls into. Then, we'll go beyond that famous not this idea. We'll get into the real meaning of who am I? After that, we'll explore the path of surrender. And finally, we'll see how these two very different paths lead to the exact same place.
All right, first up, let's talk about the biggest pothole on the spiritual road, trying to think your way to a state that is completely beyond thought. It's the most common mistake, and honestly, it's why so many of us get stuck spinning our wheels.
Okay, so this is a really key distinction. An intellectual search is always looking for an answer, right? A new piece of info, a new concept, a fancy new label for yourself. But self-inquiry, the way Ramana taught it, has a totally different goal. It's not about the answer at all. It's about finding the questioner. It's about turning your attention back on itself.
And this quote just nails it. I mean, even if you land on some super profound answer like, I am pure consciousness, or I am God, your mind is still working, is still churning, defining, labeling, thinking. The goal isn't to get a better thought. The goal is to find the source that all thoughts, especially that first I thought, are bubbling up from. Okay, so that's the first trap. Now for the second, big misconception. A lot of spiritual paths teach this method of negation, mentally tossing out everything you think you are not. But according to Ramana, this can be another really subtle trap for the mind.
So there's this practice called niti. It literally means not this, not this. And the idea makes sense on the surface, right? You just mentally reject everything you aren't. I'm not my body. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my feelings. And whatever's left over must be you. It seems logical, but it's all happening on the level of the intellect.
But just think about it for a second. When you're sitting there saying, I am not the body, who is the I that's making that statement? It's still the ego, isn't it? It's that I thought. You're using the ego to do the work, which only makes that sense of a separate I stronger. So instead of dissolving the ego, you're actually giving it a job and keeping it firmly in charge.
Okay, so if asking who am I isn't about finding a clever answer, and it's not about rejecting things, what in the world is it for? This is where we get to the real juice of the practice. Well, Ramana pointed to this thing he called the I thought. And this isn't just any old thought. He said it's the very first thought to pop up. It's the root of everything else. I want this, I think that, I feel sad, you see? They all spring from that fundamental sense of I, and that is the real target of our inquiry.
So this is how it actually works, step by step. The question, who am I, is really a tool to redirect your focus. So a thought pops into your head. Instead of getting lost in it, you just ask, to whom did this thought arise? The answer, of course, is instant, to me. And that's the magic moment. You immediately drop the original thought and turn your full attention onto that feeling of me, that I thought. And when you do that, the original thought just fizzles out. It loses its fuel.
So you see, the payoff here isn't another concept or a new word to describe yourself. It's not a thought at all. It's a direct experience of quiet, of stillness. It's that state where the mind's constant chatter just fades away because its root, that I thought, has temporarily sunk back into its source. Now, Ramana knew that this self-inquiry thing could be kind of tough for some people. So he offered a different path, one that's just as direct. It wasn't about seeking at all. It was about letting go. This is the path of surrender.
So what is true surrender? It's not about being passive or just giving up. It's this deep gut-level conviction that there's no separate you who's actually doing anything. It's giving up that feeling of doership, that little voice that's always saying, I am doing this or I want that. It's the total acceptance that everything just happens through a higher power.
And Ramana had this absolutely brilliant analogy for it. It just perfectly shows how absurd the ego's position is. The ego thinks it's giving up something it actually owns, its will, its desires, its life. But did it ever really own them to begin with?
The ego trying to surrender is kind of like a wave in the ocean, trying to surrender itself to the ocean. It was never separate in the first place.
Okay, so we've got these two paths, right? One is this active investigation into where the I comes from. The other is a passive letting go of that I. I mean, they sound like complete opposites, but they're actually aimed at the exact same target.
You can think of it like this. The path of inquiry is like you're actively trying to find the source of a river. You hold on to that feeling of I, and you trace it all the way back until it just disappears. The path of surrender, on the other hand, is like getting in that same river and just letting go of your raft, trusting that it's going to merge with the ocean eventually. One is seeking the source of I. The other is giving up the I completely.
But here's the thing. They both end up at the exact same place. The whole point, for both methods, is the dissolution of that pesky I thought, the ego. Whether you get there by investigating it or by surrendering it, the goal is for that false sense of being a separate person to just merge back into reality, the self, from which it only appeared to be separate.
And this brings us to the most profound and yet the absolute simplest truth in all of this. The spiritual journey, it's not about going somewhere new. It's not about becoming something you aren't. It's the simple, direct realization that you are right now and always have been the very thing you were looking for. You are already home.
So that kind of leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? If the whole point isn't to achieve something new but just to realize what is already and always true, then what action is really necessary? What is there left to do, except to simply be?